We're here because free speech is under attack. We're here because people are being convinced that socialism works. We're here because people are being judged guilty until proven innocent. We are fighting back with facts. This is not a safe zone, so buckle up, Buttercup. This is the raw, naked truth.
Remembrances, the candidates debate, Iran supplies weapon to Russia, inflation cools, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. Today marks the 23rd anniversary of the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. First responders and families of those killed gathered at Ground Zero, the Pentagon, Sharksville, Pennsylvania, and various sites to commemorate the tragic event and to ensure people never forget. President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, former President Donald Trump, and Senator J.D. Vance are commemorating the anniversary, appearing to put political hostilities on the back burner for the moment as the nation remembers the tragedy. All four leaders are in New York on Wednesday for a commemoration event at Ground Zero in Manhattan. Vice President Kamala Harris put former President Donald Trump on the defense in their first presidential debate, provoking him over crowd sizes at his rallies and his felony convictions, a sign of how the race has been upended with her ascent to the top of the ticket. The debate Tuesday, which was hosted by ABC News at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, came after weeks of bickering over debate rules, which were set before Harris became the nominee. The prior debate in late June resulted in President Biden's exit from the race after his halting debate performance against Trump. Harris, the first woman of color to lead a presidential ticket, presented a starker contrast on the debate stage with Trump than the octogenarian Biden did. The race was essentially tied heading into Tuesday night's event, according to polls, and it doesn't appear that the event shook up the contest any. Voters view Kamala Harris as more ideological than Donald Trump. A recent survey found that only 1 in 3 voters described Trump as too conservative. By contrast, a plurality, 44%, say that Harris is too liberal or progressive. It's a sign that voters aren't buying Harris's attempt to pivot to the center so far. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Tuesday confirmed that Iran has supplied Russia with short-range ballistic missiles and will likely use them within weeks in Ukraine. The supply of Iranian missiles enables Russia to use more of its arsenal for targets that are further from the front line, while dedicating new missiles it's receiving from Iran for closer-range targets, Blinken said, while speaking alongside British Foreign Secretary David Lammy during a trip to London. Blinken vowed Tehran would face repercussions for the transfer of ballistic weapons and said the U.S. would be announcing additional sanctions on Iran later. Ukraine targeted the Russian capital early yesterday morning with its largest barrage of drones to date, killing at least 1 person and injuring 8 residents of struck buildings, according to local media. Over 140 drones were launched at several regions, including Moscow, according to Russian authorities. Almost 50 flights were diverted from Moscow, and air traffic was suspended at 3 of its airports, one of which suffered a small fire as a result of the drone attack. Both sides have used relatively cheap commercial drones to strike enemy territory. Tech billionaire Elon Musk hit out at Vice President Kamala Harris's promise to take on corporate landlords that unfairly raise rents on working families, suggesting she would tackle the issue through nationalized rent control. National rent control will destroy the incentive to build new housing, Musk wrote on social media platform X, along with a photo of a laughing Harris superimposed over an empty supermarket aisle. National food price controls on supermarkets, which only have few percent profit margin, means empty shelves, just like Venezuela, Musk added, referring to Harris's previous promise to tackle grocery pricing. Harris had promised to tackle grocery store price gouging at large chains by imposing price controls to ensure that prices do not increase at unsustainable rates. The plan has faced plenty of criticism from various corners over its viability and the fact that no price gouging has been proven by any investigation. If you care about the environment, you may want to hold off on those single cup coffee pods. Keurig, the maker of single-serve coffee systems, has been hit with a $1.5 million fine by the Securities and Exchange Commission for making what the SEC said were misleading claims about how easy it was to recycle the little plastic tubs its coffee makers utilize to brew a cup. The government regulator said Keurig Dr. Pepper Inc. misled consumers and investors by saying in its financial filings in 2019 and 2020 that extensive testing had shown its coffee pods can be effectively recycled. The beverage company left out that two of the U.S.'s largest recycling plant operators, processing nearly a third of all that is recycled in the U.S., had told Keurig that it wasn't commercially feasible to process the cups through curbside recycling. Furthermore, the operators said they wouldn't accept cups dropped off at their facilities, the SEC said. The SEC did not name the two recycling plant operators in its order. The Consumer Price Index, a broad measure of how much everyday goods like gasoline, groceries, and rent cost, rose 0.2% in August from the prior month, according to the Labor Department. This was in line with the expectations of economists. Prices climbed 2.5% in August from the same time last year, slightly less than estimates, and down from 2.9% in July. That's the lowest level since February 2021. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of The Raw Naked Truth at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.